Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. Welcome to this special episode of the Vegan World 2026 Moonshot podcast. And this is day 6 of the 7 days of rest and sacred renewal with the million vegan grandmothers and rainbow food and rainbow people. And to take us forward, here is Tami Hay from the Million Vegan Grandmothers. Take it away, Tami.
Oh, thank you, Sailash. This is it's a really fun day for me today. I was thinking about how blessed we are to be able to have access to water, and do we bless our water? Do we acknowledge when we drink our water that it is a privilege for many people to have water, and yet it is a right? So today we're going to make some really neat seed milks and other milks. Most people, when they think about making their own nut milks, they think about nut milk. So they think about almond milk and cashew milk. Neither one of those grow in my region. But what does grow in my region are sunflower seeds and hemp hearts. And the milk can be made out of anything. And on our yellow chakra day, we actually made some cashew hemp instant cheese for our raw cheese with lemon for our squash. And I went on to put a little bit of a probiotic in there that I'm going to talk about. And now it's a bubbly, as you can see it, it's a bubbly fermented cheese I've left on my counter for a couple of days. So today's going to be really exciting. And today we're going to be joined by Dr. Will Tuttle from the World Peace Diet and possibly another yogi. So Dr. Will Tuttle is an international acclaimed vegan advocate and the author of the World Peace Diet and also the whole movement of the Peace Diet, which around the world has been formed as different groups of people wanting to share the World Peace Diet because it is so profound and so powerful to make the connection to everything that's happening to us as humans in our culture, we've done to animals. And so there's this karmic effect of what we do and how that shows up in the world. So thank you, Will.
Thank you, Tami. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining in on this presentation. And it's really an honor to be with you and to be part of this movement, really, of awakening, of transformation, of reclaiming our health and our wellness. And I'm down here in Southwest Florida in West Palm Beach at Hippocrates Health Institute. You've been here, I think, right, Tami? And you want to say something, or?
I was there for 3 weeks. I had been a really healthy long-distance runner, bush runner, and I got sick with Crohn's, and I just couldn't get a grip on it. And I heard about Hippocrates, and I went from being a long-distance runner to hardly being able to walk the beach when I went there. 3 weeks later, I went for a half an hour run. So it's a massive transformation for them.
Right. Yeah, that's what I've seen. We're going to be here for about 6 weeks, actually. And it's basically a totally organic vegan food, mostly raw, mostly sprouts, a lot of sprouts, and then lots of exercise. There's always a sauna every day, wheatgrass juice, green juice, which is a combination of celery juice, sunflower seed, pea sprout, and sunflower sprouts, actually, and pea sprouts, and cucumber. So these are very cleansing and healing, just sort of bathing your whole body in the light of these beautiful foods and the minerals and vitamins and phytonutrients that are in them. And then the big emphasis really is on the mind and on the attitude and connecting with the truth that we are, which is that what we are is not just a physical body that was born and will die, that what we are is infinite and eternal consciousness, an expression of life, all that ever was, has been, or will be, in a sense. We are that infinite life. And so I think when we are understanding that at a deeper level. And this place is good, I think, for that. Any place is good for that, really. But this is a place where there's 55 acres of tropical kind of a wilderness, basically. Lots of trees and wildlife, and plus there's saunas and cold and hot pools and all these other things. Lots of waterfalls, lots of beautiful art and statues, statuary and fountains and everything everywhere. So, the sense of beauty and nature and creativity is very much a part of the healing process. And I've found this myself over the years. So, in keeping with the themes of today, of course, this whole thing is the 7 days of rest. And I think this idea is that as we begin another year, and this is probably in many ways one of the most challenging years already, I think people feel that with the political and health issues that are global. And so to begin this year, 2022, by resting and also recharging, rejuvenating, resurrecting the power that is within us in every cell of our being, reconnecting with the truth that we are, and with our connection with the infinite love that is the source of all life and is shining in every cell of our being. And so this 7 days of rest, and then within that, there is this awareness of the importance of vegan living. Vegan meaning simply ahimsa, or non-violence. So basically doing the best we can to live a life of compassion and kindness for other living beings, other expressions of life on this earth. And that as we do that, we create a field of healing for our body and for everyone around us. So this is the underlying idea here at Hippocrates, and also I think for this time, for the 7 days of rest, for the Climate Healers Initiative to bring peace to our world. And all of these, this is the essential underlying foundation, and it's to reconnect with the truth of our own being. And then we have the awareness within that of the 7 chakras. And I know you've been going through those over the last few days. So you've already connected with the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. The 7th chakra is up here on the crown, which is usually violet. And then the white, which is the combination of all the chakras, is very often referred to as the star point, which is the chakra, the 8th chakra, which is above the crown of the head, and is the gateway for the spirit to be operating this whole physical body. So again, the whole idea is to realize that what we are is not the physical body, just like we're not our car. We drive a car. Or we're not our house. We live in a house in a sense, but we can leave that, and we will leave that. And the same thing is true with this body. So we will be living this body at one point, but right now this is the vehicle for the spirit, which is our true nature, that lives always in our heart, lives in every cell of our being, but is infinite and eternal life. So the whole idea is to dedicate our life to awakening into discovering the truth that we are, not as a piece of matter that was born and will die, but as the infinite eternal life that was never born and will never die. And when we understand that and actually live our life from that point, then we begin to realize that we're here in this particular life for a purpose, that we have a mission. And I think once that mission becomes clear to us, then we have much more power to send into every cell in our body, because every cell in our body, when we wake up in the morning, is giving thanks, and we're giving thanks. We have another day to learn and to grow and to contribute to the mission that we have, which we feel wonderful about. We need to learn, to grow, to awaken, to contribute to the healing of our planet, to contribute to the healing of other people and animals, to be part of the solution to the problems on this earth, rather than just being part of the problem here. And so all of that is connecting the various dimensions of ourself, and realizing that what we are will live through many lifetimes. So we're learning lessons, and it's all about awakening and being part of the awakening of humanity at this time. We're at a really critical crossroads. I think we're all aware of that. And so each one of us has a unique part to play in the healing of humanity, the healing of the consciousness of humanity, so that we can actually be part of the cleansing that needs to happen and help introduce a new way of living. Instead of dominating and exploiting animals and other living beings, we can be living our lives as not only stewards of the earth, but as manifestations of love, kindness, and compassion on this earth, and enter into a deeper relationship with animals and with each other based on this awareness. So that's my main message here. There's so much we could talk about. And do you have anything you'd like to ask me directly, Tami? I could talk a little bit more about some of the main ideas in the World Peace Diet, or whatever you think would be best going forward.
Dr. Tuttle. Yes. If you could just expand a little bit on the foundation that is just being developed through the Million Vegan Grandmothers, but we've renamed it to the Million Vegan Grandmothers with Grandfathers and Wisdom Carriers. At first it was Wisdom Keepers, but here we are as the Wisdom Keepers. And what is our responsibility as the Wisdom Keepers and the wise people? So grandparents just simply lose the vegan grandmothers and grandfathers and wisdom carriers. What is our responsibility?
Great. Yeah, I love that. The vegan grandmothers, we're all mothers. You know, in the Tibetan tradition, the word lama literally means precious mother. And so the idea is that mothering doesn't not necessarily depend on your gender. I mean, we can all be mothers. We can carry that energy. And grandmothers, of course, is even more. It has the energy of this love that is unconditional and supportive. And I think essentially the message that we're doing our best to bring into the world is this message of a sense of radical inclusion, to include all living beings within the sphere of our kindness and our concern, and to then embrace the possibilities that we have, not only to question the official narratives in our society that are causing so much suffering and exploitation and oppression of other beings, but to create new narratives that come out of our experience. So I think moving to a organic, whole food, plant-based way of eating is an essential foundation for that, because as long as I'm supporting chemical fertilizers, pesticide, herbicide, fungicides, and so forth, killing birds and bees and insects, all of that, as long as I'm paying for people to stab and sexually abuse and mutilate animals and then eat that, all of that is devastating, really, to not only to the physical body, but also to other living beings. So the whole idea is to think about others and do the best that we can to be a force for kindness for them. And then with that foundation, and then again to get to the deeper level of connecting with our purpose and what is our unique contribution that we can make during this lifetime to help move the whole narrative forward. And I think that's the thing, you know, this whole idea of narrative, I think, is the most fundamental thing. The story that we're telling ourselves and the story that we tell each other really gives meaning to our life. And the final thing I'll just say here is to just recognize very clearly that we've been born into a culture with a very toxic narrative. The narrative of materialism and animal agriculture is one of separation and domination of the weak by the strong. And the domination and exploitation and ownership of other living beings. So this is super toxic. And so the idea is to understand this and then co-create a narrative that's based basically on the opposite of that, on what the world's wisdom traditions have been saying, essentially to do unto others what we would like to have them do unto us. I mean, it's basically the golden rule, really. That's it, the golden rule. Whatever we most want for ourselves, to give that to others. If we want to be free, then let others be free. If we want to be loved, be loving. If we want to have a super abundant life, be generous. these basic ideas resonate at the core of our being. These are the eternal truths that our society in many ways suppresses, but we're rediscovering, I think, every day. Yeah.
Thank you, Val. I'm wondering, I recognize that you're not able to be in a completely quiet environment, but I'd still really appreciate if you would do an invocation prayer for us before I go on to demonstrating. And then we're going to meditate on a photo that Sailesh is going to put up of a woman in Sudan having to protect a small amount of water for her family. Before we get on to demonstrating all of the water that most of us have as a right still, but many people, it's a very hard to come by privilege. So maybe the blessings of the water and the starlight around us. Well, thank you.
Okay. So let's just take a moment and enter the silence together and give thanks for the precious mystery of water that makes up most of our physical body and of this beautiful planet that we're on, and understand that water has a power and many powers that can help bring healing and awareness and wisdom into our life. The transformative power of water and the power of water to remember and to hold consciousness and awareness, to heal, to flow and bring life to everything it touches. So we see our lives as manifestations of water, that we are ourselves a river of living awareness flowing through the countryside of our life on a journey from the very source of what we are back to the ocean of the infinite life that we are always returning to, and that the ocean is actually our source as well. So that we are coming from the ocean and returning to the ocean, and that what we are is a wave upon the ocean, and that ocean is our true nature. So we give thanks for this opportunity of this precious human life to be a blessing here in the world, to contribute to the flowing of water for the benefit of all beings. And so it is.
Sailesh is going to put up a photo that a fellow vegan friend of ours gave Sailesh, and this is a woman in Sudan protecting her water for her family. That little bit of water on her head. So maybe we can just look at this for 10 seconds or so and just be quiet on that most of us still have the rights to water. It's touched me very deeply. And it's actually, I think most of us on here, I should say on this podcast, still have the rights to water. But water insecurity is pretty worldwide. It's at least a quarter of the population, I would say, by this point, and growing. And that's why we're here. We're here to do fun demos and really upgrade ourselves so we can be of service. But we're here to bring the water security to the world, because without water, there's no life. And should never be a privilege. It should have never been a privilege. It should have been our right as humans. So Sailesh, Dr. Sailesh Rao, I would love it if you spoke a little bit about your culture and the chakra energy and yoga and white.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tami. Thank you, Will, for your wisdom and for telling us about the 8th chakra, the light. And we know that the 7 chakras are opened for us to reach the light. In the 7 chakras, we have physical sources for where each of the chakras are. And we talked about the heart chakra, the 4th chakra, the stomach chakra, the 3rd chakra, and then the sacral chakra and the root chakra. And finally, there is the 3rd eye chakra. This is the 6th chakra and the chakra on top. And each of those they represent a certain aspect of our lives. So any transformation requires us to open these chakras. So the 1st chakra is about overcoming fear. So the 2nd chakra is about overcoming guilt. The 3rd chakra is about overcoming shame. The 4th is about overcoming grief. The 5th is about overcoming all the lies and delusions. And the 6th is about overcoming lies. And then 6th is about overcoming delusions. And the 7th is about overcoming attachments. So when we open our chakras, we are overcoming all of these things that are pulling us down so that we can reach the light. So in our culture, we have Lord Krishna playing the flute. And the flute has 7 holes that are open. So the flute really represents us, the human being. And when the chakras are open, the holes are open, he can play beautiful music through us. So that's the symbolism of Krishna playing the flute. And so this is why this whole 7 days of rest and sacred renewal with the chakra nourishment resonated so much with me. So thank you so much for doing this, Tami, and thank you for bringing us all together with these nutritious foods.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a beautiful explanation and a beautiful visual. The hollow flute and becoming that hollow flute, and then the ability for all of the entrance into that hollow being, and a two-way sound from the holes. We can allow the delusions to escape, or the guilt, or the fear of, which are all associated with different parts of our being. So thank you. And after I was at Hippocrates, I'd heard a little bit about a pretty wild spiritual doctor up in the mountains in Patagonia, and a friend of Dr. Brian Clement and Anna Clement, and I was like kind of intrigued. I heard that they were doing Anipis, and it was all part of a huge program. And so after I left Hippocrates, I went on to the Tree of Life, where I was able to study with the Essenes. And during our time as the Essenes, we wear white for our gatherings together. There's something really magical in it. And when I take Kundalini Yoga, I wear white, and it is known to increase our auric field. I'm super messy in the kitchen, and I'm in the kitchen a lot because I find food is very grounding for me, especially in the winter. Right now, I'm surrounded by white therapy at this beautiful snowy terrain. I might need to just show everybody a quick sec. If you're in your warmer climates, look at this winter wonderland that I'm exposed to right now. The trees covered with snow and the beauty of that. And I was just outside walking my dog, and I was reminded as my face was freezing. I did my master's thesis on the microbiome and different ways to stimulate the vagal nerve. The vagal nerve runs from our gut all the way to our brain, and we want to tonify and stimulate it. And one of the ways to do that is to to wash your face in freezing cold water, have your face go really cold. So I can see this beautiful wonderland as an opportunity to do that. And even the brightness and the energy of the snow, even 5 minutes outside on a cold day will lift my spirit like there's no tomorrow. So we're going to go on and make a little bit of seed milk. So again, like I had mentioned, very well known, people think of milk as almond milk. Lately, oat milk seems to be a really big thing for people. The one thing that I really I really hope that I can bring home during these 7 days. Every morning we made infused water. And we made it with just a little bit of blueberry and pomegranate, a little bit of lemon, and strain it so the body could take that liquid and take the memory of that food and help detoxify and hydrate the body in the morning. Instead of all this packaged stuff that we gravitate towards in the store, the bottles of mineral water and infused waters, and lately Costco's been selling a whole bunch of lavender water or spirulina water. And really all we need to do is put a little bit of spirulina in our water. So what our mind is gravitating towards when we see this is the color. We gravitate towards color because our spirit, our soul knows that color is life. Not the bloodshed and the rotting carcasses, but the color of life from pomegranates and blueberries and the green infused mint water I will make. Our body knows color. So we can avoid all those packaging. In a few seconds, we can make an infused water in the morning. We can avoid all the packaging of the nut and seed milk. I'm not saying that if that you're traveling and that's what you have access to, but we need to get over our inability to know how easy it is to be well and how quick and efficient it is. So I'm walking one of our climate healers through nutrition for a couple of weeks before I started teaching online over Zoom. And this is the beautiful thing about technology, is we can connect with people across the world. And she had bought her seed nut milk, and she said, until somebody actually sat with me and did it with me over Zoom, there's just this disconnect that many of us struggle with a little bit. But here we go. I'm going to make a sunflower seed water. So here is a cup of sunflower seeds soaked. And most seeds don't have to be soaked quite as long, a few hours, 3 to 4 hours. These will actually sprout if I keep rinsing and soaking. And sprouted seeds and nuts are so much more bioavailable. That takes a little bit longer, but you can sprout these in a jar. So I'm going to use 1 cup of sunflower seeds. Look what I'm going to do here. Now, normally you could just use a liter of water. But water has memory, as Will had mentioned to us, and Dr. Shelley Ostroff in the 7 Days of Rest talks a lot about water memory. So what memory are we giving our water? Well, herbs. I've been soaking just for an hour fenugreek. Fenugreek is so anti-inflammatory. Fennel. I sprout fenugreek. If you haven't sprouted fenugreek seed, so I sprouted some fennel because my stomach was a little bit upset this morning. So I sprouted fennel for about an hour. Most people don't think of making themselves some nut or seed milk with that. So I've soaked it. I've strained the fennel. And I'm going to add that to my sunflower seeds. And I'm going to have a fennel sunflower milk. Look at this. There we go. And this literally only takes us a few seconds. We just soak overnight. We can soak our seeds or nuts overnight. I realized I didn't have the proper lid on this, so it's flowed over. Anybody that helps me prep in the kitchen can say that I'm really messy to clean up after. But I have so much fun. I'm kind of like a kid in the kitchen. I'm playing. So here we go. I took my raw chef training at Tree of Life, and I fine-tuned it for what myself as a soul believes is the proper biochemical food for me, because we're all biochemically different by design. So one food isn't the right food for everyone. So this is just kind of like a little bit of an infused sunflower seed milk, but it could literally just be a liter of water and sunflower seeds. Doesn't that look beautiful? There we go. So we have some fennel sunflower milk, or it could just be a sunflower milk. So I also took some I also took some coconut flakes. We're going to make a really nice quick coconut water. Now, the reason why I soaked and strained any nut or seed is that most nuts and seeds, except for some white ones like macadamia or the exception, or cashews, they have something called a phytic acid, which is an enzyme inhibitor. So you want to soak and sprout all your beans and seeds and nuts overnight and give them a good rinse to get rid of the enzyme inhibitor, which is phytic acid, okay? Coconut doesn't have that. So I have some coconut flakes here, and I've had them soaking in water, approximately 1 cup. And I'm going to put it in my blender with a liter of water to make a coconut milk. Now, if you want it a little thicker, just add less water, add 2 cups instead of 3. And I'm going to blend this. And I will strain this. And if you're blending it for a cereal, maybe a fresh cereal bowl with some raw granola, or not the granola you buy in the store, it's just loaded with sugar, or some berries, or you want to make something a little bit like you're using it, let's say for a chia seed pudding. So you can just pour this directly in. You don't even have to strain it. Put some chia seeds in there, a couple tablespoons into a ½ liter jar, and then maybe a layer of blueberries, and let it sit overnight in the fridge, and you have a beautiful chia pudding. Yeah, for breakfast. And chia, there's been a lot of research on hydration, but the food that grows in the desert are made to hold water in the body, like aloe vera, and also chia. They help the body hold and retain water. So here we have this nice coconut milk. Easy, huh? A lot of the packaged milks you buy are really loaded with all kinds of stuff, and they're not raw anymore, so they don't have a living force in them. Yeah. So chia pudding. Don't have to strain any of your nuts and milk if you're using them for something like that. You might want to strain it if you're using it for a tea, or maybe an infused water. I could take some of this strained milk and I can put a few mint leaves. Some people use nut and seed bags. I have a very fine strainer and it's quicker for me, and I'm all about making it quick in the kitchen. This is just a basic seed milk that I can pour my milk through, and then I milk it. Yeah. And what I'm going to show you a little trick with the nut or seed bags. I keep the seam on the outside, so I use it inside out, because otherwise all the pulp sticks to the seam. Yeah. I would like to say a little bit about making yogurts or a probiotic cultured food with our milks, okay? So I have some milk that I made a while ago here. I added a little bit of something called EM to it. EM is a probiotic, but the reason why I'm saying EM, sold by Terraganics, is because when I was at the Tree of Life, I was in a little bit of an inflammation. My dosha is Pitta, and it was very hot there, and Pittas don't do well in that kind of heat. So when I was in the desert, it was the hottest time when I was taking my 33-day intensive with Gabriel Cousins. And they use effective microorganisms there as a way to garden, as a way to ferment their foods, culture their foods. Because as soon as you add a culture, then it becomes a cultured food as opposed to a wild fermentation. We're going to do a wild fermentation tomorrow. For our last celebration, I'm going to make rainbow sauerkraut, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what I'm going to do with all this pulp. We're going to make a beautiful dish with all this pulp, a really nice crunchy nummy cracker. But all I did to add to this milk was 1/3 teaspoon of effective microorganisms. So I'm going to tell you something about whether you buy the packaging of 1 bottle and this probiotic. you can reculture every bit of it 20 times over. So if you were to take 1 ounce of Terra Organics EM with 20 parts water, and then you add 1 ounce of molasses to feed it, organic molasses to feed it, leave it on your counter, you're going to have that 20 parts that you can culture again 20 times over. So this is going to last you forever. It's going to allow you to share with all your friends. I have 2 or 3 jars in the fridge. And whenever people come to my food classes, this is our probiotic to make our yogurts, to make our fermented milks, to make my cheeses. Look at how bubbly this cheese is. On our yellow day, we made a hemp with fresh lemon. We made a hemp heart and cashew cheese. And then I just put just a few drops of that EM in. It's so powerful that I had already cultured, not directly from the bottle, but I cultured it many times over. And I left it on my counter, just covered lightly with a cheesecloth. And now I have a probiotic that I can use for anything. I can use it to dress it up in a sauce, a dressing. That's how easy it is. I grew some sage this summer, and I've been soaking some sage water that I'm also going to use as an infused drink today. I think it'll be my infused mint water. And I'll add one more thing. When people are doing, let's say they're making a kefir. So you have some kefir grains and you have your beautiful cashew milk that you want to make a milk with. There might not be quite enough sugar to activate the kefir grains. And what you can do when you're making your milk is you can take a couple soaked dates and either simply use a few ounces of the date water or blend a couple dates in there. And the sugar from the dates will feed the kefir culture. So, and very easy to find starters for your yogurt in the vegan option. So please don't buy the dairy option. We're not doing that here at all anymore because we're awakening, as Will said, we're coming to our new times of community. And I thank you on behalf of the group that we have going on, Rainbow Food, Rainbow People. It's a supported Facebook group for the whole month of January, starting out with the 7 days of rest. I would like to take a moment to honor Dr. Shelley Ostroff and Jan Golding for putting on a beautiful offering of sound therapy and from grandparents and elders and wisdom carriers. So I thank you. And our month is going to end with our convergence. It's our VCOP, which stands for the convergence of the peoples, we've decided. Just as we are renaming the Million Vegan Grandmothers to the Million Vegan Grandmothers with grandfathers and wisdom carriers. So let's be the wisdom carriers that take us to the new times of remembering who we really are, how easy it is to make these beautiful nourishing milks, seed milks. If you're allergic to nuts, you could still have seed milks, you could still have coconut milks, and you can ferment and culture them to really enrich those probiotics in the gut naturally without all the expensive probiotics, because my research showed that the majority of them actually aren't even active probiotics anymore. It's become a big marketing scheme. So part of awakening the third eye is stepping out of the delusion that making our own milks is difficult, that we can't make time to have water, or water is inconvenient to drink water. I hear so many people say, I forget to drink my water. And I'm thinking about that beautiful mother in Sudan. You know, so honored to be here, honored to be a grandmother, walking into this new year, asking everyone to please go on climatehealers.org, join the Million Vegan Grandmothers with the grandfathers and the wisdom carriers. And we will be part of an amazing month. Please register for VCOP on climatehealers.org so you can be part of an amazing convergence as we as we really begin this new year back into light. Thank you, Sailash.
Thank you so much, Tami. Thank you for taking us through this journey. And I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, the Rainbow Day.
Yes.
Yes.
We are having a rainbow party tomorrow. I'm going to make rainbow sauerkraut, and I'm going to make use some of this pulp and show you what I do with it. And we're asking people to please join, either join on the live Facebook, or come and join us in person. We have room for guests. So come and join us in person. Make your favorite rainbow drink or rainbow food. I think I'm going to make a jar of chakra rainbow salad and do it in nice layers. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Namaste, vegan.
Namaste, vegan.